Good morning. Today we're going to use pieces of paper, glue, and scissors to make some Notans. So let's get started. These are examples of Notans that I've made. You can probably tell just by looking at them that they're two-sided, sometimes above and below, sometimes side by side, and that they're made just from black paper and this bright colored paper. Traditional Notans are made with black and white, but I just couldn't resist this bright colored paper. So you should have a piece of rectangular colored paper and then a square piece of black paper. We're going to draw our design with pencil on the black paper. The first one's going to be super easy. We're going to make half of a heart. The rules with the Notan is that you have to start and end on the same edge with your design. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to end here and I'm going to make a big half heart. It doesn't have to be, oopsie, does not have to be perfect. That's it, pretty simple. Now you just cut out your shape. I have found that for me, it is easier to cut if I hold my scissors straight and turn my paper using my non-dominant hand. For me, I have the scissors in my right hand and my left hand is my non-dominant hand. So it doesn't look much like a heart now, but when we put it on our paper, I think it will. So before we glue it down, we're just going to make sure it works. We're going to take our black paper and line it up against the left-hand edge of our colored paper. Make sure that you do this. You don't want to center it. You'll run out of room. And then you take your other piece that you cut out and you fit it in where it would have been before you cut it. And then you're going to flip it. And you'll see it makes a lovely little heart. So now we're going to glue it down, and I'm just going to keep this oriented the same way, put it over here. I like working on my sketchbook because then I take my piece of paper and my glue stick and I glue on my piece of paper so that I can make sure and get glue all over the back side of the paper that I'm gluing down. I've also found that when you have a little narrow area of paper, it's easier if you take the glue stick and you run it off that narrow area. A couple little tricks that I found out. And then glue it down. And the more precise that you can be with your gluing, the better the overall look is going to be. All right, my big piece is in place first. We always start with that big piece. And then I'm just gonna double check. Yep, this is the way that it goes, and then it's gonna flip over. And so I know this is gonna be the side with my glue on it. Every once in a while I put glue on the wrong side of the paper and it just never looks 100%. And then the trick with this is really to line up your corners. Kind of like, think of it as like kissing corners. The more careful you are lining it up, the better your overall look is going to be. I'm trying to keep my hands clean so that I don't get my bright green all grubby. And there it is. I'm going to flip it over and put my name on the back. And I'm going to wait for it to totally dry, make sure I have dry hands, and maybe tomorrow I'll come back and erase the little pencil lines. It's nice to get rid of them. Great job. Going to continue with a second Notan. This one's going to be a little bit more complex. So I'm going to make another heart, half of a heart, and then I'm going to make that heart 3 more times inside. I like to do my drawing with a pencil because I can erase pencil and it doesn't show up very much even if I don't erase it. But just so that you can see what I've drawn, because I'm a little bit worried that the camera isn't picking it up, I'm going to draw over it with white. You do not need to do this. This is just so that you can see. Now I'm going to cut out all of my pieces. I like to start with the biggest piece first. And again, I like to cut with my scissors held straight, using my left hand to rotate the paper. I feel like I have more control that way. But it's all about practice. I've also noticed that the slower that I go with the cutting, the happier I am with it. Especially if I'm trying to do a precise shape. Okay, we've got lots of pieces and we're going to put them back together and then just see how it's all going to turn out. So I'm going to start with my background first and align it to the left side of my colored paper. And then I'm just going to put all of the pieces back in the order that they were cut out. Now I'm going to be flipping every other one. With my background in place, I'm going to be flipping the next biggest shape, like that. And then the next biggest shape is going to remain in place. The next biggest shape is going to be flipped, and the last shape is going to be in place. So it's basically going to turn out like this. I just have to make sure that I keep my shapes in the right order. So that's the tricky part. Maybe I can see if I can do this. Like that. All right, start with my background shape. Make sure that I'm gluing on the right side. Using my sketchbook so that I get glue all over my black background. And then carefully putting it in place. And then I'm going to be gluing down the next biggest shape, which is going to go over here. So I know that I'm going to put glue on this side. And kissing corners, really trying to make sure that it's lined up as perfectly as possible. And then my next biggest shape. And then my next biggest shape. It's gonna go over here, make sure I flip it right. It can get a little bit confusing as to which side my glue goes on. And the last shape is going to go like this. Try to get that aligned. There we go. That's the basics. Great job, guys.